Hi guys, my name is Emma. Let's talk spooky stuff. I know it's been a while since I've done a favorites video, and I'm actually going to rename these to call them what I watched this month, because I know a lot of you guys just watch it because of my letterbox portion, and that's really what takes over the whole video. So that's what I'm going to call these ones from now on. It's a list of what I've watched and what I haven't spoken about, and elaborating on the movies that I saw this month that I didn't talk to you guys about in videos, just so you guys know what I'm watching and if it's worth a spin for you. Firstly, I want to thank everybody who attended my live stream in January. It was intense, and we raised over 1,500 Australian dollars, and I could not be prouder. Thank you so much. I still have everyone who donated up on my wall. You guys are legends, actual heroes. Thank you so much. All of that money went to aid the relief for Australian bushfires, and you guys chose where the money went, so that was great, and I appreciate you guys for being such good sports and watching me just lose my mind on a stream. It was quite funny, and I like that you guys appreciated the lightheartedness. And then also, I have to mention really quickly, if you are from Perth, Australia, and you're not following me on Instagram, you'll want to, because something really exciting is happening this month. I'm actually hosting my very own private screening of Invisible Man, thanks to Universal Pictures Australia. They are letting me have my own private preview screening a week before The Invisible Man comes out. It is my most anticipated film of this year, and I'm just completely blown away that they are hiring out a small cinema and letting me invite 50 people. So please follow me on Instagram, because I will be doing a competition over there so you can get tickets and come along with me, and I can't wait to meet you guys and see the movie with you. But without further ado, I've got my laptop here. It's heavy, and I am ready to jump in to my Letterboxd diary. If you are looking for me on Letterboxd, I'm under Spookyastronaut, not Naughts. I didn't include the S, and it's very confusing. I'm not sure why that happened. But let's start down at the start of the month. The first movie I saw was I See You, and I did talk about this one in my Hidden Gems. I think it's a great thriller starring Helen Hunt, and I really recommend going in blind. It's a great watch. I then watched Freaks, which is a lower budget horror movie, sci-fi horror movie, that you can watch on YouTube, like obviously to rent. And I think that this one is very hit and miss with people. I saw a lot of people watched it and turned it straight off, but a lot of people I know really liked it. So if you're into kind of unique fantasy sci-fis, apocalyptic, check it out. I then watched The Ghost of Sugarland, which is a 20-minute documentary, I believe, on Netflix. I don't know if I'd recommend this one. I felt like it just, as it got into the story, it kind of came out. It's very intense subject matter. This one, the blurb reads, "Shocked when their friend embraces extremism, a group of Muslim Americans in Texas recount their time with him and theories about his fate." It's a very interesting 20 minutes. Up to you if how you want to spend it. I then watched probably the worst movie. One of the worst movies I've ever seen is The Clown Motel, Spirits Arise. I don't know why I decided to watch this. I think it was on a list for people saying that this was a hidden gem of 2019, and obviously I got because it is such a joke. But I can see a lot of my friends here. I can see Ben, I can see Scott have like seen this movie. Why have we all watched this movie? Yeah, here we go. Scottzilla, one of my good friends, says, "I couldn't even enjoy it for how bad it is." By the way, if you follow me on Letterboxd, I will follow you back. So you can go and hit that, and we can find out what each other are watching. I then watched Dream/Killer, which is a documentary. Again, I'm really into the political stuff here. It's about a guy that goes to prison for a crime he doesn't commit. The thing I really liked about it is it had Kathleen Zellner, is that how I say her name? She's from Making a Murderer. If you liked her, she is a legend. I liked this story. It was kind of hard to, obviously these ones are really hard to watch, but as compelling as the story is, I do worry the one-sidedness. I'm going to stop talking about this. It's way too political. But I thought it was good. I definitely recommend it. It's worth a watch. It's always worth like educating yourself on these kind of things, even if it's through documentary, which is that education? I don't know. I then watched Roll Red Roll because I decided I really wanted to piss myself off. I don't really want to talk too much about this on a horror channel, to be honest, but this is a 2018 documentary that is on Netflix about an American high school football team. It's a true story that did some unspeakable things to a girl, and it got out, and it's the whole boys will be boys situation. This made me really mad, this movie, and I'm sure it would make anyone mad. And if it doesn't make you mad, then I don't know what you're doing here, because like just being a human, it just makes me mad. Anyway, let's move on to some horror movies because I don't know how I got down that deep hole, starting with Clown Motel and ending up on like the worst part of humanity. But let's move on to Villains. I then watched Villains, which a lot of you guys have been asking me about. This one is quite fun. It's kind of a kooky movie. Bill Skarsgård and I always get her name wrong. Monroe, you know her. She's lovely and they are lovely, and it is a twisty, turny story, and I think it's a lot of fun. I don't think it's anything too serious. I gave it a 3 out of 5, but definitely worth like a VOD watch for sure. I then watched Summer of '84, and this is a little bit controversial because I heard so many people talking about how great this movie was for so freaking long. And I was very disappointed. The blurb for this one is, summer is usually a time for fun and games, but some teens get much more danger than they bargained for after beginning to suspect their neighbor is a serial murderer. So this reminded me a lot of Disturbia, except it had like an 80s kind of flair to it. But other than that, I just didn't think that there was a lot going on here. I actually gave this the same mark as The Grudge, I'm now realizing. Ouch. Let's just say I do think that they are very different films. I just really didn't enjoy The Summer of '84. Then on to Winchester. I really wanted to rewatch this one. I went to the Winchester house in October, and I really wanted to rewatch this film after going there. And I did like it the first time. I know a lot of people thought that this was a really crappy horror movie, but I thought for like gothic vibes, it was kind of spot on. I don't know. I didn't think there was too much wrong with it. I don't know what people were expecting, to be honest. And yeah, I gave it like a 6. So not great, but worth a watch for sure. You're gonna have to excuse me because my partner made me watch Mission Impossible 2 and 3. Oh wait, this is 3 and 4. We watched them all. It's terrifying. Anyway, so let's move on past that. I watched Fighting with My Family, which I absolutely loved. I love this movie. This one got rave reviews at the end of the year because a lot of people were talking about it in their favorites of 2019. And obviously it has Florence Pugh in it, so I was very excited to see her in it, and she did not disappoint. Very cute movie. I would really recommend it if you wanted to watch it with like your friends or your family. Everyone's gonna get something out of it, and I think it's a really good message, and I really like that film. I then watched Sleepaway Camp and The Silence of the Lambs. I watched this for my Does This Offend You stream. If you checked it out, wow, what a stream. I'm actually really proud of that one, and it was really hard, again, talking about political stuff, but why is it political? It's just crazy. Anyway, we're talking about some themes in those two movies that connect them, and I had Desmond Flicks on my channel, and of course, my co-host as always, Nightmare Maven. We'll be doing another Does This Offend You next month on her channel. If you haven't checked out a Does This Offend You stream before, it's not what you think. What we do is we pick out some subject matters that we don't normally get to delve into and kind of connect two movies to those subject matters, and then we just talk about little bits and pieces that we wouldn't normally talk about. Things that are taboo, things that are controversial, things that people just glide over in horror movies. And it's not because we like being offended or anything like that. Usually these movies don't offend us at all, and we love a lot of these movies, especially these two movies. I know all of us really liked those two movies. So it's not really to do with that. It's more to do with being able to have an open conversation and talk about things normally we would just glide over. So it's not as intense as it sounds. It's just a lot of fun, and we're just laughing the whole time. So don't be discouraged. I then watched The Two Popes. Oh my God, what is wrong with me this month? It's so serious. I actually really liked this movie, and I don't know what I thought. I just saw it was on Netflix here. It went straight to Netflix. I wanted to check it out. I'm a huge fan of Anthony Hopkins, and I thought it was a really interesting story. I'm not religious myself, but I have been to the Vatican. I just find it very interesting, and the history behind it, and I really liked the ideas in the movies and how they didn't sugarcoat things. I thought was really interesting. I have no idea how they get the permission behind doing this about who they did it about, but very interesting stuff, and highly recommend it if you are slightly interested in the movie. It is worth it, trust me. I then watched Psycho. I watched this with my patrons. Every month, me and my patrons from a certain tier sit down and we watch a movie together over Skype, and that's what we decided to watch this month. I've seen Psycho, I don't even know how many times. It's probably under 10 times. in my life. I love this movie. It did so much for film in general, and particularly psychological thrillers and horrors. But I feel like the rewatchable factor in this is really interesting because it's just a string of really iconic moments that you're waiting for. So I mean, a lot of people disagree. They love rewatching this movie, but I felt like that was really interesting for me watching it this time. I then went and saw Bombshell, which I was dying to see. Oh my gosh, another little statement in here. Wow, this month was pretty serious to me. I'm noticing. I'm seeing a theme. Was really blown away. If you guys don't know, I worked in TV and like media for like the last 10 years. So I've worked on newsroom floors, and yes, I worked in two different TV stations, but like back and forth a couple of times. And it's very interesting being a woman on the floor, and yeah, I don't know, like I really enjoyed this story, and I did look into the background and the interviews with the real people who it happened to, and I thought it was just a very interesting way of representing it. I can see why people have some issues with it, but I really enjoyed the movie for what it was worth. It was awful to watch, but also powerful, very powerful. Let's move on. The Wave. Oh my gosh, I was dying to tell you guys about this movie. I was gonna do a review on it, but it turned out to be less of a horror and more of a sci-fi. If you have not seen anything on The Wave, let me tell you, this is one you will not want to sleep on. This is a sci-fi movie, a sci-fi kind of adventure drama comedy with Justin Long, and it is wild. The blurb is: a man on the verge of a promotion takes a mysterious hallucinogenic drug that begins to tear down his reality and expose his life for what it really is. I love that blurb. That blurb is perfect because it doesn't say too much. But my God, is there some horrific moments in this movie? Like you thought that Midsommar was bad. There's some really in-depth trips that are so scary, and it's cool. It's a story that you didn't expect to come out of this. I'm not going to ruin anything else, but I think it's really fun, and it is available on VOD now. I see that it says it's available to rent on Amazon if you're in America, but you can get it on Vudu in America. Yeah, I think it's all over the place now, so definitely check it out. Justin Long represent. I then watched Extraordinary, which I did a review on, and I didn't realize that two of you guys had actually recommended it to me in passing. I must have just completely missed it or saw it and not made the connection, but highly recommend. Check out my review if you haven't. You are not going to want to miss that one, and I believe it's coming to America in March, but you can watch it on VOD in other countries, including Australia. You can watch it on YouTube if you rent it. I then watched Her Smell, which is a movie that I've been waiting to watch for a long time. This is Elizabeth Moss. She plays this rock and roll star. It reminded me a lot of Vox Lux, if you've seen that film with Natalie Portman. I love that film. I felt like that was a better version of this film, to be honest. But it's just about her downfall and being destructive and addiction and that kind of stuff. It's shot in a really interesting way though. Like a lot of it is one shot towards the start, and the scenes that they chose to represent what was happening to her was really interesting. So I would recommend it. It just wasn't as amazing as, like, you can see all of these stars, guys. You loved it. As amazing as I felt like other people rated it. But I think it's really interesting and different, and I love Elizabeth Moss so much. So highly recommend if you're a fan of her, or if you liked Vox Lux and you want to see something similar, check it out. I then watched the original, The Invisible Man. I just really wanted to rewatch this. I've seen it many years ago, but because obviously the new one is coming up, I thought it'd be good. I know that the new one won't be obviously a remake of the original. It's a very different storyline, but I just wanted to see, just in case there was any nods and things like that, just a refresher. I then watched Richie Rich. Talk about a refresher. I thought I'd love this movie. I love Macaulay Culkin, but it's just the nostalgia factor for me. It's not actually a great movie, so let's move on. I'm not going to comment on this video because there is an embargo. I then watched Loose. What a movie. I tell you what, if you're going to take one movie away from this, this is such an important, interesting, amazing movie, and I was not prepared. Obviously my girl Naomi Watts is in it. Octavia Spencer is everything in this. She's amazing. And she's such a good actress. I'm so sad what happened with Ma, because obviously she was still shining. It was just the editing and everything else that was wrong with that movie, but I still think she's great. The tagline for this film is "The truth has many faces." I would go into this film completely blind. It is a drama, kind of thriller watch. It's not a horror by any means, but it really toys with you and changes your perception on a lot of things. And I love that, because going into movies, a lot of us have our ideas made up about who someone is and what they represent. And I loved this movie really messed with you with that and gave you all of the information, but you only see it the way you want to see it. And I love that. I just love that. I love when you go out of a movie and you feel like you've actually learned something, and that is this movie for me. So highly recommend. I then watched Hustlers, which I've been meaning to watch for a while. On Twitter, there was this huge thing about these people not wanting to watch this movie because it was about women ripping off men. I mean, like, every movie ever, either way, like, it happens all the time. Like, I was talking to my partner about this and he was saying Wolf on Wall Street, isn't that men ripping off men? You know, like, it's a film. Like, films are about like bank robberies. I don't understand why this is any different just because they are strippers, but whatever. But I liked this movie because I wasn't really aware that it was based on a true story, and it isn't like glamorizing it as much as the trailer shows. It's, you know, it shows the highs, but it shows the lows, and I think it was really interesting, and it was a lot better than I thought it was going to be. J-Lo, you go, girl. I then watched Toy Story 3. We actually were in Singapore for my birthday weekend, and it was just on TV and we watched it, and I cried my eyes out. I tell you what, I cried so hard. That movie gets me every time. I then watched, what you guys actually want to hear is I watched Underwater. Yay, I finally saw it. I can understand why people are divided on this one, because I felt like there was a lot of really good points in it, but then also it felt flat in areas. I am a big fan of Kristen Stewart. I don't understand the hate. I think she's great. And especially if you watch a couple of like her indie kind of movies, I think she does really well. I haven't seen Twilight or anything like that, so I don't really base my opinion of her off that. So I can understand that people probably see her a different way. But I really thought the situation in this movie, where they were and how it kind of happened, was pretty terrifying. And if you don't think that it's scary to be in that situation, I'm sorry, what? I was pretty terrified watching it. I was jumping, I was squirming. It was very sci-fi, more sci-fi than I expected. I don't know what I expected, but wow, what a movie. I thought it was all right. So I gave it a 3 out of 5, which is a 6 out of 10. There was some bits where you just wanted a little bit more, or the tonal shift was a little bit strange. Like, there was a couple of characters in there just to bring some like comic relief, and that was a little bit odd, but I understand why they put it there. I just felt like it was a flawed situation in a way. Anyway, then I watched Dead Con. I watched this on Netflix. This is a movie about like a YouTube kind of convention, and it actually has a YouTuber in it, but yeah, it's stupid. It's like The Shining, like real rip-off version of The Shining meets a YouTube like VidCon kind of situation. It's very poor, don't bother. And then I watched Aladdin, the remake of Aladdin, or the live action Aladdin. I didn't think it was that bad. I really didn't. I gave this one another 3. So I liked it as much as Underwater, which I think is kind of funny, but completely different movies. I'm a huge fan of the original, and I was really surprised by Will Smith's character. You know, everyone made fun of the blue genie, but I thought he did really well, and I felt like he actually was the star role for me. I think he did fantastic. Anyway, I don't need to talk about Aladdin to you guys. That's how I felt. I then watched Frances Ha, and this is a movie that I've been like wanting to watch forever. Obviously, a lot of people joke about this film because it is so indie, and oh my God. I was like, I liked this film, at the same time it frustrated the hell out of me. The film is written by Greta Gerwig, I believe, and she also acts in it. She didn't direct it though, but it is it's like a conversational piece on being in your 20-something and not quite adulting in New York, and it is so cringy at points because it's so real, and I think that's a credit to the movie. It reminded me a little bit of 8th grade, how cringy it is because it's so real, and sometimes you don't want to see those points in movies. You want to see the glamorized, over-the-top emotional. You don't want to see like the awkward drunk things that you said to somebody at a dinner party and then regret it afterwards. So I don't know, I like this movie, but I also didn't like it at the same time, if that makes any sense. And then the last movie I saw of the month was The Grudge, and I reviewed that for you guys. So I guess what I would recommend for this month is Underwater. If you haven't seen it, I still think it's worth a watch. Definitely check out Loose if you haven't. Her Smell, Extraordinary, The Wave. And the rest aren't really intense movies that I recommend to you. Oh, except for I See You. definitely see that one. I want to talk to you guys really quickly about some books, audiobooks. I've been listening to a lot of audiobooks. I did The Exorcist. I did this for Nightmare Maven's book club, which I really enjoyed. I'm glad that I got the push to finally listen to it because I've been meaning to for a long time. It's totally amazing, totally recommend it. And it was really cool because I love The Exorcist movie and I've seen it so many times, but I was worried that the book would change it for me, but it didn't. It made me appreciate it even more of how well adapted it is. So highly recommend that. And I also listened to You, which is the first book from the series, I guess, which the Netflix TV show is based off. I did a whole video breaking down You and the character of Joe and why he's successful. So check that out if you're interested. It does contain spoilers though. And then with TV, obviously, as I said, I watched You and I have been obsessed with The Circle. So I watched the US version first and then I realized, or I was told by you guys, that it's actually originally a UK show. So there was 2 seasons in the UK. So I've watched both of those now all the way through. It's like Big Brother almost, but you're inside a room by yourself in an apartment block, and you can only talk to other players through a computer system that's called The Circle. I really like these reality shows because I like the idea of dissecting how people interact in social situations. And I think The Circle is perfect for this because it really shows how people come across online, and when you can't talk to anyone like vocally, and you can only interact with them by text, how they receive that or perceive what you're saying, and vice versa, how you think you're coming across. I think it's very interesting and it's like a really cool social experiment. So I see it in that way. So if you're into Big Brother or Survivor, you will love this show. Make sure to watch the UK version. You can watch it on Channel 4 online if you have a VPN, or if you're in the UK, you can watch it on Channel 4. So I highly recommend. And then the last thing I want to talk about really quickly is I started watching the show, and I'm going to totally butcher this because it's from the Netherlands and I don't know how they pronounce this. I tried to listen back like 7 times. It's Aris. This is a Netflix TV show that just came out. It's about like a college situation with like a society, like a high society. I watched the first 4 episodes, and I tell you what, the first episode is so gripping and so amazing. It's following this girl as she tries to find out this secret society that her friend is associated with. And the opening scene of the first episode shows like the timeline of someone going through this secret society, and it is the most gripping, amazing, like 2 minutes of a TV show you'll ever see. But from there I kind of went down because it felt like the reaction times of things and how slow things were really being released to you, it was unnecessary. I felt like there was 10 minutes of each episode really dragged out of someone just looking at someone and then the reaction back and forth. And there was also a lot of conversations that I felt like were just fillers. They just didn't need to be there, and it kind of killed the mystery of the whole thing. So I don't know if I'll continue watching it. Let me know what you guys think down below, and if you have seen the whole series, if it gets better, and if you know what I mean. I'm around the episode 4 mark, and there's 8 episodes. That's how I feel about that. Also, of course, I did watch The Servant, and I have a whole video on that if you want to check it out. It's completely spoiler free, and I believe a lot of you guys were like, oh, I don't really want to watch it because it's on Apple Plus. I believe a lot of you guys were saying you can get a free trial, and it is only 5 hours of content because every episode's like 30 minutes long, and I think there's 9 or 10 episodes. So really, I watched it in a whole day, to be completely honest with you. It's not a hard watch, and if you got it for a week, it would totally be worth it. Trust me. I'm not trying to sell you. There's no coupon code or anything. I'm just saying if you want to watch it, you can watch it in a week pretty easily. Okay guys, thanks for putting up with me as always. Sorry for my lighting change in the middle. I'm sure you guys noticed my light just completely lost battery, but I wanted to power through the last couple of minutes of this. Also, I want to really thank you if you've just subscribed. I see you. I love you. Thank you for being here. I have so much cool content coming up. I can't wait to share it with you guys. And last thing, my blood nose in my last video was 100% fake, and I can't believe the percentage of you guys that didn't understand what I was trying to do. I was talking about horror cliches and then my nose started bleeding. It was just a joke. If you've seen The Grudge, they use that horror trope cliche, and so I was trying to play off that. Sorry if my joke didn't come across well. I am fine. I promise I'm healthy. I love you guys so much, and I'll talk to you very soon. Stay spooky.